Members, it's the appointed time. We have a quorum. I call to order the meeting of the panel on security. Let's proceed with the election of chairman of the panel. The Secretariat issued a notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period for the office of chairman, one valid nomination was received. The nominee is Mr. Xu Kafai. The nomination was made by myself and seconded by Mr. Dominic Lee. Because Mr. Xu Kafai is not a chairman or deputy chairman of any other panels or a chairman or deputy chairman of any relevant government advisory bodies, in accordance with the rules of procedure and House rules, I declare Mr. Xu Kafai duly elected as the chairman of the panel in this session. Congratulations, Mr. Xu. I will now ask him to preside over the meeting. Thank you, members. Let's proceed with the election of deputy chairman of the panel. The Secretariat issued a notice to inform members that at the end of the nomination period of the office of Deputy Chairman, only one valid nomination was received. The nominee is Mr. Chen Hao-feng. The nomination was made by Mr. Chen Hao-ken and seconded by Mr. Chen Yong. Because Mr. Chen Hao-feng is not a chairman or deputy chairman of any other panels or a chairman or deputy chairman of any relevant government advisory bodies, in accordance with the rules of procedure and the House rules, I declare Mr. Chen Hao-feng duly elected as a deputy chairman of the panel in this session. Congratulations. All right. Let's move on to the second agenda item, schedule of meetings for the 2026 session. In the 2025 session, the regular meetings of the panel were held at 2:30 p.m. on the first Tuesday of each month. If members agree to continue to adopt the previous arrangements, please refer to the proposed schedule of meetings in this session before you. Please note that for the regular meeting in February, the administration proposes to hold the meeting instead at 4:30 p.m. on 10th of February, Tuesday. Because the first Tuesday of March is the eve of the two sessions, the regular meeting in March will be held earlier at 10:45 in the morning on 24th of February, Tuesday. And for the first Tuesday of April, because it is a public holiday, the regular meeting in April will be held earlier at 10:45 in the morning on 27th of March, Friday. Do members agree to the relevant arrangements, or do you have any questions? If not, let's proceed to the third agenda items for discussion at the next meeting. First of all, in order for members to have a better understanding of policy directions of the government, the Secretary for Security will hold a policy briefing for the panel between 8:30 and 10 in the morning on 30th of January, Friday. Please attend the meeting, members. As for the next regular meeting, it is to be held at 4:30 p.m. on 10th of February, Tuesday. The administration proposes to discuss the two following items. One, a proposal to make a supernumerary position in the Fire Services Department, a position for Chief Fire Officer permanent, to enhance steering, command, and support in operations in New Territories South region. So this is related to a staffing proposal. Another item is the law and order situation in Hong Kong in 2025. Do members have any questions? If not, let's move on. Let's talk about some items for discussion that members would like to propose for discussion in this session. If you wish to speak, please press the request to speak button. If you wish to speak, please press the request to speak button now for me to estimate the time needed. Well, we have 14 members who have pressed the request to speak button. I'll assign 1 minute time limit. If we can't go through everyone, please make a written submission to the Secretariat, and we will discuss them with the administration. Thank you. Mr. Danusla. Thank you, Chair. I know that for some time, the Customs and Excise Department, when handling cases related to currency exchange, found circumstances akin to money laundering. And right now, the legislation is not clear to citizens, especially in relation to withdrawals in the mainland. So I hope that in legislation operations, we can make sure citizens' interests are protected. Next, on online deception, for example, phone fraud. Often it would go through banks, but it seems that we can identify the criminals with the bank's authentication, but then we can't really retrieve the money. Why is that? I think we can discuss this. Thank you. Dr. Thomas So. Thank you, Chair. I would first like to congratulate the Chairman for being elected. I would like to raise 3 points. One, on facilitation of clearance and manpower deployment. I hope that we can discuss this. I also want to talk about combating new AI-related fraud as well as other forced documents being used. We also need to combat drugs. I hope that we can discuss these 3 areas. Thank you. Mr. Chris Ip. Thank you, Chair. I would like to discuss 2 issues. Deception is now global. I think we can focus on discussing how to prevent this from happening as well as enhancing publicity and promotion. We can perhaps also look at some overseas experience in doing so. We have seen with the increase in tobacco duty, there is a prevalence of counterfeit cigarettes or parallel cigarettes. So I hope that we can talk about how we can combat this. Thank you. Dr. Johnny Thank you, Chair. I would also like to congratulate the Chairman for being elected. I also want to talk about deception. Can we deploy more manpower and technology to detect the cases as well as retrieve the funds deceived? Second, we need to talk about the abuse of the Convention Against Torture mechanism. We have seen a decline in the number of cases with the government's efforts. Can we review the area to see how we can decrease the number of cases further? Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth Quad. Thank you. I agree that we should continue following up on those who are abusing the non-refoulement mechanism. We still have 10,000 odd people in Hong Kong spending over $1 billion in Hong Kong. So we really need to combat this abuse. Also, we should talk about amendments relating to sexual offenses. I hope that finally this year we can talk about this after years of discussion. Third, we have seen AI being used in many cyber offenses and cyber crimes. So how can we enhance online security? Can we discuss this? I also want to discuss the issue of manpower shortage in disciplinary forces. The Correctional Services Department told me they have a great gap, and this is exacerbated by budget cuts. I think disciplinary forces should be considered separately because they face great difficulties. I also want to talk about the combating of drugs. Thank you. Mr. Dominic Lee, I think we really need to talk about the problem of bogus refugees. Second, we should talk about the hours and manpower deployment arrangements in boundary and control points. We also want to talk about safety and the equipment and pay and benefits for disciplinary forces personnel. We have recently seen a loss in the Wangfu Court fire, so we really need to talk about this to enhance their safety and pay and benefits. We also want to talk about drugs because the drug situation is becoming quite serious. Thank you. Mr. Chen Yong, thank you. Chairman, again, congratulations, Chairman. Can we talk about boundary clearance within the Greater Bay Area? Can we have collaborative inspection, joint clearance? We also want to have more people driving to Hong Kong. We should facilitate that. Can we also have east in, east out, west in, west out mode to alleviate congestion in Hong Kong? On the emergency response collaboration framework, can we also discuss this to ensure there is proper collaboration? Thank you, Mr. Tan Ka-Pu. Thank you, Chair. I think we need to review the capacity, especially during peak hours of boundary control points, whether it's for manpower or hardware. I hope that we can also have a visit to Huanggang Port to see what new ideas they're using at the port. We also need to discuss bogus refugees to expedite administrative handling of such cases. With the existing framework, we still have some refugees here. So we want to make sure even if they stay here, they wouldn't be causing trouble. I think we should also review some short-term visa arrangements under the Security Bureau. There are also some long-term visa arrangements. I hope that we can have specific arrangements on how these groups will benefit society and we can combat illegal workers. Thank you, Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Chair. The critical infrastructure bill, it came into force on 1st of January. I hope that we can talk about the implementation of the bill as well as the code of practice related to this. We can receive a report from the government on this. And we can also talk about the use of technology and the operations at the port, as another member mentioned. Can we also talk about the fire safety regime? We had another member talk about the Wangfu Court fire. Can we receive a report from the Security Bureau on this? Of course, the decision will be made by the chairman. I think we can also talk about the work of the Customs and Excise Department. We need to make sure there is convenience within the Greater Bay Area, and we also want to receive I would like to receive a report from the Customs and Excise Department on combating of parallel cigarettes. Thank you. Mr. Lau Ka-keung. Thank you, Chair. I am concerned about the following issues. We are trying to boost the economy. We need a safe environment. So I support the disciplinary forces making good use of AI and big data as well as modern technology to help with enforcement work. We have different operations, including the installation of CCTV cameras and the use of AI to enhance enforcement efficiency. I hope that we can really expedite the progress of installation of CCTV cameras. Also, we have been looking at the amending legislation for sexual offenses for a while, so we really need to discuss this in this session. We have also seen a continuous increase in the consumption of etomidate, so we should talk about how we can enhance education starting from the primary school level so that we can say no to drugs. Thank you, Ms. Christine Fong. I agree that we should discuss the issue of fire safety. So we can talk about how under Fire Service Department we can make better use of FSI, that is the Smart Fire Services Facilities. And in terms of building management, in relation to security, can we introduce mandatory requirements to have buildings equipped with masks to prevent toxic gas masks, as well as some Internet of Things fire safety facilities? Can we also have portable extinguishers installed in common areas? So I think we can discuss all of these under the same umbrella. I also want to hear from the government on the latest progress in the implementation of the fire safety engineer scheme. Thank you. Mr. Eric Yim. I think under the premise of protecting personal privacy, how we can increase coverage of public CCTV cameras to protect public safety. If we had much more CCTV coverage in Tai Po, it would really help with fire investigation. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Ken Wong. Thank you, Chair. Once again, congratulations, Chair and Deputy Chair. Well, 3 points to note. First of all, we need to combat deception, in particular for mainland students studying in Hong Kong. I think you know that last year there were a few cases in which university undergraduates from the mainland studying in Hong Kong committed suicide because they could not bear the consequences of being deceived. Second, national security education. The Education Bureau is taking the lead, and of course the Security Bureau can equally do the same. I think they have got teaching materials for schools. I would like to be given a briefing on the work. And thirdly, fire prevention education. The Tai Po fire is an awakening call. I think at the school level, we should enhance students' awareness of fire prevention. Next, Mr. Yu Pai Leung. Thank you, Chair. 2 points of continuing with the existing work. And another point is about expediting a certain issue. First of all, we are concerned about the efficiency of clearance. I think everybody is concerned about that. It has been quite good, but I think it's still better to further enhance it so as to enhance the passengers' experience. We should also try to find a way to allow the tourism industry to have local tours, as well as taking tourists to the boundary vicinities. If you don't allow access, then we can't develop the tourism products. And then for the Shuttlecock Pier, I mean the Shuttlecock boundary control point, it should be redeveloped as soon as possible so as to ease the pressure there and enhance the capacity. Again, that would enrich the visitors' experience. Next, Mr. Chen Cho Kwong. Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'm concerned about the government's budget and financial pressure on the disciplinary forces, in particular the police, because it may have a bearing on our manpower needs, and that would affect our safety and security. And then the upgrading of our paraphernalia for the disciplinary forces. I think we are 5 or 10 years behind others. By the time we get what we have ordered, it is already outdated, and that will affect our efficiency. And then for the police force, now, of course, we'll act in accordance with the law when we enforce the law. But then sometimes we may be subject to an investigation or even prosecution, and that's a concern to us. Thank you. And then for the question of pay, probably it will involve the manpower panel as well. But it doesn't matter. All the views of the 50 members who spoke will be raised with the administration when myself and the deputy chair hold a meeting with the administration. So your views or suggestions will be shared with the administration to see what can be done in the context of this year's work plan. That is the items to be discussed. Next, we should talk about the subcommittees on policy issues. The House Committee Chair at our House Committee meeting last week gave you a briefing in relation to the setting up of subcommittees on policy issues under the House Committee or the panels and the basic principles involved. After the House Committee has gathered all the proposals concerning the setting up of subcommittees on policy issues, there will be a holistic view concerning the priority of the subcommittees. Well, if you believe that under our panel you would like to set up a subcommittee on policy issues, please let us know. It will be for the purpose of studying a issue that is of public concern, and you should be specific. So please give us a written proposal by the 6th of February, 5 p.m. A written proposal covering the terms of reference, the work plan, as well as the schedule, among other pieces of information. Well, I just want to remind you that if you would like to set up a subcommittee on a policy issue, there is a limit on the membership, and it will be 20, among whom we must have more than half of the members coming from the panel itself, otherwise it won't be valid. And then for non-panel members, they may also join the subcommittee, but then they mustn't outnumber the panel members who also sit on that subcommittee. So please note that. All right? And now I come to the item AOB. Members, do you have anything to raise on the AOB? If not, then thank you for coming. Meeting adjourned.